The next move that XRP will take to the upside is going to shock a lot of people, especially at this current point in time where everyone believes that this market has topped out, that, we're just going to continue to sell off and we're going into a bear market. And no, I'm not trying to clickbait you guys. No, I'm not selling you guys hopium. I am talking about this entire market waking back up in a huge way. And I think that this next big move to the upside is going to surprise a lot of people. In fact, I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard because right now, everyone has their mind made up on what they think is going to happen next, which is we're just going to continue to sell off and we're not going to have any, upside move, and alt season is a scam. It's never going to happen, this, that, whatever. I'm going to go over a lot of this, but first, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So right now, as we do take a quick look at this market, it has been pretty stable. I got to say, I'm very surprised by how stable this market has been. We haven't really been witnessing any big moves throughout the space. Like, even for an example, Bitcoin is up about almost 10% in the last 7 days. This is in 1 week. I mean, 10% in 1 week for crypto, that's nothing. But outside of that, XRP up about almost 16%. And most altcoins, by the way, are up in a huge way in the last 7 days. Which we love to see. Now, a lot of them are just bouncing off of the lows and rebounding. But, we want to see some positive gains. We want to see some major moves here. And specifically, we want to see altcoins like XRP, for an example, retarget their previous highs. In this case, we go all the way back to January, where we did hit about $3.40. Now, when it comes to XRP, are we just going to sell off from here before we hit those highs? In my opinion, I do think that we might have a short-term, sell off, a little bit more chop before we get to those highs. But first, I actually want to talk about the factors behind this next move on XRP that will technically take us not only to a new all-time high if we're going off like the coin market cap high of like $3.84, but I also think that's going to take us into price discovery where we do hit the major top for this cycle. Now, let's start by revealing the big catalyst behind XRP's next big move, which is, of course, the ETFs. I believe that we are going to see the case completely cleared up, within the next, I think that it could happen at any point. But I would argue within the next week, we should have a very big update regarding the SEC case. Now, we do have over here president from ETF Store, host of ETF Prime, and co-founder of ETF Institute, Nate Garachi. 2x leveraged XRP ETF is currently live and trading. I simply don't see this SEC not approving spot XRP ETFs, and sooner rather than later. And yeah, I do think that this is pretty much inevitable. The question is, how long do we have to wait on this? Like I said, with the case being basically done, I think that right now everyone's just kind of waiting for the SEC to finally announce, hey, guess what, the case is done. But I think that the case, it's been pretty much finished for a few weeks now. But I do think that once we get the official announcement, we will most likely see, the following announcements after that being, the XRP ETFs being approved. Now, yes, we do have an ETF already currently live and trading, and that is XRP. This is that 2x long daily XRP ETF. And, right now it has about $27 million tied to it. Nothing too significant, to be honest. And I didn't really expect this to perform extremely well, simply because of the company behind this. If it was like BlackRock or Fidelity or like a big name that everyone is aware of, I'm sure that it would have been performing a lot better. But, it's not too bad, right? In about 8 days, $27 million, nothing too crazy. Not the best, but again, we have to think about the company that has launched this. It's not a massive, well-known name. But this is already currently live and trading, and it's a 2x leveraged ETF. So what's really kind of stopping the spot ETFs? I don't think much at all. So we really kind of look at those ETFs being a big driver here, a big catalyst, if you will. But what's even crazier about this is that Cointelegraph, on top of CoinDesk, also posted about XRP ETFs today. The first one was, update, XRP leads altcoin ETF race with nearly 10 active applications, followed by Solana, Litecoin, and Doge. According to SEC filings tracked by Keiko Research, which crypto ETF do you think will be approved first? Now, what's crazy about this is that I think that there's more applications. Obviously, the 10 that they're tracking probably is just the actual names, but some of those names that have already filed for an ETF have about like 2 or 3 XRP ETFs that they're waiting to be approved. So you gotta add about like maybe 6 more to this list, because the last time that I checked, it was like about 16 or 18 ETF filings for XRP, which is insane. I mean, it's wild. But you could obviously see that the market is really hungry for XRP ETFs. And when I say the market, I mean the institutional players, because most of those applications are coming from institutional giants. So I do think that's only a matter of time until we do see these approved. And if all of them get approved at once, then, just wait to see what really kind of happens for XRP, because I do think that that's going to be a massive driver around price action, but also it's going to be a very, very big announcement itself. Also over here, we do have CoinDesk also, adding to this. XRP and Solana are leading candidates for a US spot ETF approval due to their high liquidity, with XRP potentially launching earlier. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for XRP to launch earlier. It's a larger altcoin than Solana by over like $60 billion or so. Trading volume is pretty much tied. It's very close. But XRP over the last like 30 days, it's been growing in a big way around trading volume, but also you got to think about how much trading volume XRP captured so far in just like the last quarter. So really kind of gauging this from an institutional perspective, they're probably looking at XRP and they're saying, well, it's the 3rd largest altcoin, number 1. Number 2, there seems to be a lot of big focus put on XRP from the retail side, which means, retail is hungry for an ETF. And then on top of that, you got to think about, how successful XRP has been this alt season so far. Again, you could call it an alt season, you call it a bull run. It doesn't really matter, right? We know that alt season hasn't hit this market just yet, but, so far this cycle, XRP has outperformed Bitcoin. If we look at the 1 year, on top of Bitcoin, it's also outperformed Ethereum in a huge way. And even when we think about Solana, right, it has outperformed Solana in a massive way as well. So when we're thinking about an ETF, for XRP, I think that the institutional players that have filed their applications are probably urging, for the XRP ETF to go through first, because of how successful XRP has been so far this cycle. So that's why it does really kind of make sense to have XRP launch first. But it's crazy to see CoinDesk and also Cointelegraph be bullish on XRP, even though we know these two have been very anti-XRP for a very long time. If you guys do know, you know. But also, Paul Barron did recently have Stephen McClurg on his YouTube channel talking about the XRP ETF before Solana. Now remember, Stephen is the CEO of Canary Funds, which also does have an XRP application. But check this out.
Solana and XRP, which one of those do you think might fall in favor of the SEC first?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna go with XRP for a number of reasons.
Okay.
The courts ruled that it's not a security. That makes it easy. XRP is a favorite for all of the above.
Let's get into.
And by the way, I agree with HBAR as well.
HBAR is a great one.
It's same thing.
Solana.
So yeah, I mean, listen, as we really kind of think about XRP, there's multiple factors on why, XRP would have the ETF before Solana. The court decision, the retail interest, the performance so far this cycle, how big it is, the fact that it's the 3rd largest altcoin. So again, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, on top of that, let's think about the next move for XRP. Because a lot of people are starting to talk a little bit about what could happen next with XRP. We have over here rising wedge breakdown suggests the attempted recovery from the April 7th lows has likely ended. Again, this is a TA update on how XRP is going to break down. But then also from U.Today, they're actually talking about how XRP could be eyeing a potential rally in April if history repeats itself. And what it's talking about is the gains from like 2021 in April, which was 174.1%. And then also the gains back in 2017 and even 2018. Now, again, am I dead set on this being the determining factor for XRP to have like a big move in this market? No. I'm not really kind of looking at this and saying, all right, well, yeah, XRP is going to have a massive April. So, prepare for this next big move. It's going to shock. No, that's not what I'm talking about here. All right, first and foremost, I do think that XRP probably sells off a little bit before we do have that next big move to the upside, realized in. And the reason why I say that is because of how much open interest there is around XRP. And I'm talking about long positions. We have here about 66, almost 67% of traders in Binance have open XRP positions that are going long. This was in the last 2 days. If we look at XRP right now on the chart, this is what I'm really kind of looking at, right? So I'm looking at this on the daily. Technically, I would be looking at this on the 3-day to really kind of, be a little bit more, in depth with it and more accurate as well, because I do think that the 3-day chart is much better to look at than the 1-day. It's kind of in between the 1-day and the weekly time frame. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds in terms of like a lower time frame structure and even a higher time frame structure. But just for the sake of this video, I want to do the 1-day, just to kind of show you guys what I'm expecting here. So number one, I'm really kind of looking at a little bit of a sell-off initially. And that sell-off is back down to like 185, 180-ish. Doesn't really matter, right? The number one thing that I'm really kind of looking at here is just retesting the lows. Ultimately, I would like 185, 190 to hold. That way we kind of maintain the daily support down here and we create a higher low, right? That's the key thing here is higher lows, higher highs. After that, I do expect us to retest a potential breakout of this upper trend line. We retested it already back in March. We rejected off of it, leading down to like $1.62 or so. We might sell off a little bit, retest the midline, which is what we actually want to see it break over. This midline has been acting as major resistance since we lost it. So after we break over that, we break over the trend line, retest the trend line or retest around the previous resistance, and then we have that nice surge to the upside. Now this surge to the upside, the initial target obviously on the upside push is this level here from back in March, which is right around $2.94. We could even move this up and say, all right, well, we want to break over $3. All right, so we break over $3. The next target after that is the previous highs from back in January, around $3 and almost 40 cents. And then after that, we really kind of just target the $3.84 target that CoinMarketCap has been, listing for years now. So that's what I'm really kind of looking at. Now, just to kind of give you guys an updated view from someone that, does TA and has been doing TA even longer than me, Credible Crypto. So big shout to Credible Crypto. There are a few different scenarios that can play out on XRP here, and it will be dependent to some extent on what Bitcoin does in the coming days. But this would be the most bullish scenario that I'm keeping an eye out for. Now, I do agree with them. Yeah, it definitely does. Everything that we're starting to see here is determined by what Bitcoin does. So far, Bitcoin has been just ranging. Like I said, it hasn't really done much in the last couple of days. We've just been really kind of just chopping to the side, waiting for some big move to actually happen. But we are at the POB, the point of breakdown, that took us below the range lows into our key buy zone in green. If we can break back above this POB, point of breakout or breakdown, impulsively, it would be a fantastic sign. And this is the chart that he has outlined. Now, this kind of aligns with what I've been looking at, which is like a retest of $1.85. Again, I'm really kind of just looking at the trend here, retesting this and then breaking to the upside. Now, his targets here are initially, so we have the first wave, the second wave, the third, fourth, and then the fifth. Now, this is lower time frame of like a lower time frame 5 wave. His macro 5 wave takes us to like $20 to $30. I don't agree with those targets, but again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. It's as simple as that. I don't really care how high XRP goes. If it goes higher than my original targets, great. I'll keep a moon bag as always. And, if we hit those targets, then hey, we're making a lot of money. But the number one thing that I'm really kind of looking at here is his targets. So initially it's about $2.10, then like about roughly almost $2. Now we did post this on the 10th, okay? And if we're looking at XRP, going back to the 10th, we already hit his first initial targets, like around $2.25. Now, $2.25 was almost like around his third and fourth wave. So if we're thinking about the actual breakup to like the fifth wave or so, do I think that this has already realized in yet? Because if we're thinking about April 10th being the post time, we didn't actually get a breakdown. In fact, we started to push to the upside. But we already rejected that midline. That's why I'm really kind of looking at us retesting that $1.85 and then finally playing out this scenario where we do get above the major midline resistance zone, which was support prior. And then after that, we really kind of target that $2 and like 50-cent level. We break down a little bit, and then we finally get that surge to $3 plus. Now, this is a lower time frame, fifth wave, Elliott wave theory. After that fifth wave, we really kind of look at the next key levels. Like I said, we already have them on this chart, $3, and then we have $3.40. We take it one day at a time, obviously, and we really kind of see what the market is doing. But like I said, I do think that the next big target here, outside of just like lower time frame trading, if you don't really care about lower time frame trading, and if you're not a trader, then all of this doesn't really matter in terms of like us selling off a little bit and then finally breaking to the upside. The main thing here is that we're going to go back up. And the upside target here is not, oh, yeah, we're going to $2.50 or $3. No, we're going to break over those previous highs, in my opinion. All it really takes is Bitcoin to finally break over the previous highs, which on this chart, if we're talking about like the monthly view, you know, we really kind of want to clear 90K. We want to get back above 90K, break above 100K preferably, which would be huge. Because again, that's now this like psychological level. Are we ever going to break above 100K again? And what happens if we do, right? Like it's a big psychological level. So once we start to clear some of these previous highs on this chart, on the yearly, I'm really kind of looking at the support zone flip, which is like around 93.3K, almost $94,000. Once we kind of get back up into those levels, I do think that the move above 100K plus will happen easily. So that will actually support the move on XRP as well. And in terms of like Bitcoin dominance, I do think that Bitcoin dominance is very close to its topping point, which will also align with the next big move on Bitcoin to the upside, while Bitcoin dominance is breaking down, supporting a much larger macro move on XRP's upside chart, which should take us to, you know, our major targets like $5 to $7, $10, $15, or even $20 to $30, like Credible Crypto has outlined and many other analysts. So again, we take it one day at a time. We see what the market's going to give us. And until we start to get that big breakout on Bitcoin, I do think that we probably chop a little bit more here, which is why, you know, I think that, you know, regardless of the lower end targets here and lower time frame trading, the main thing to do here is just kind of sit still. Don't act impulsively. Just be a little bit more patient. And I do think that the upside moves here throughout this year are going to be very exciting. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.